Another E3 has come and gone, and let me just say that for video game fans, it was the best one in years. The hardware competition, the newly revealed software, it was all really good stuff. Now, I was hoping that on this weekend after the event, I would have an episode of Show Me Your News ready for you, where we have the winner of our yes or no contest on to break down everything. We're still going to do just that next week, but I thought I'd put my 2 cents in now regarding the things I observed. That said, I am Youko, and these are my top 10 takeaways from E3 2013. So at Konami's pre-E3 show, the big news was Hideo Kojima announcing that Big Boss in Metal Gear Solid 5 would be played by Kiefer Sutherland. That was seen as a big screw you to series veteran David Hayter to be one-up by Jack Bauer from 24. Well, my fellow SMYN co-host Tony TH believes there's a bigger conspiracy going on here. And as much as I want to tell him that he's delusional, this E3 hasn't proved him wrong yet. Sure, we've heard Kiefer's voice in the fantastic 9-minute director's cut of the MGS5 trailer, but for the big deal that Kojima made about Kiefer in the motion capture suit, we have not seen or heard Sutherland's voice specifically coming out of Punished Snake's mouth yet. So I can't tell Tony he's in denial. The fact that this is still an issue when it could have been cleared up so easily makes it a significant takeaway. I have to be very upfront about this one. Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze looks like it's going to be a great game. It also helps that it was the only game in Nintendo's slate of Wii U titles that was a complete secret before the show. So why did it have to be made by Retro Studios? See, Nintendo fans have really built up what Retro has been working on over the past few years. Remember that rumor last year about a Star Fox and Metroid crossover? After all the hype and all the anticipation, this is what we were left with. Again, it looks like it's going to be great, but did it live up to the expectations that Retro Studios' 3-year absence put on itself? Absolutely not. I was looking forward to one thing at EA's press conference: how EA Sports Ignite would be presented. As a sports gamer, I wanted to see the future of what I would be playing. What I didn't expect was what actually happened.
This release is the return of art to the science of dribble.
Now, Kyrie, why don't you tell everyone why dribbling is such an important part of your game?
Well, Sean, the dribble opens up so many different opportunities.
Everybody wants to talk soccer, and everyone is playing FIFA.
It's time!
What is this celebrity nonsense? Hey, newsflash, aside from USC, your games are coming out this fall for next generation platforms. And all you have to show for it is the same kind of footage from the Xbox One reveal event? Even if it is in engine, that's not gameplay. The fact that we don't know what gameplay looks like for these titles yet, when E3 was the perfect chance for that, is rather troubling. And it's unfortunate, because the rest of EA's conference was actually rather good too. Oh, what's that? LeBron James in NBA 2K14? Oh, God, don't eat me!
Thought he'd be the one that set the West in flames.
For those that don't know, my brother Sword Hunter is a big car guy. I mean, really big. Like naming models of cars out loud to himself when he sees them, almost as if he expects anyone to be impressed or as passionate about vehicles as he is. So with the amount of car porn that was present at this year's E3, there was a figurative verbal mess that needed to be cleaned up. All kidding aside, you had Gran Turismo 6, Drive Club, Need for Speed Rivals, The Crew, and to top it all off, Forza Motorsport 5 with their Drivatar and the McLaren that they actually brought on stage. Oh yeah, and Mario Kart 8. Look, I get it, I like cars, and they're a great way to show off a new system's graphical power. But how many driving games are too much? The answer is this: definitely this many. Phil Spencer was looking rather proud of himself as Microsoft tried to make themselves look like heroes by bringing back Killer Instinct to the Xbox One. What they didn't tell you on stage is that it would be free to play, and that to use more than one character, you need to go through the microtransaction route. And it's not made by Rare. Whoops. Though the worst part of the reveal was the obviously painfully scripted trash talk.
Just let it happen, it'll be over soon.
Wait, what?
There we go. Just let it happen, it'll be over soon.
How does something like that, which seems so planned out, actually make it through approval like that? Especially when it's directed to a female opponent. And it actually gets a laugh from the crowd? Look, Microsoft, maybe you think that's okay considering some of your views on how to treat your paying customers, but something like that on the world's biggest gaming stage when the trash talk is already awkward and scripted as it is? That is not alright. Let's just put that out there. Not to mention that while the Twitch TV integration is great, this is not how you sell it. Followed up with comments like these. Ugh. You know the phrase, lightning doesn't strike twice? I think someone needs to tell Ubisoft. So, stop me if you've heard this one before. To end their press conference, the French company showed a trailer that started talking about the problems with society, which then switched to slow gameplay to show off a beautiful graphics engine, which ended with a quickly ramped up action sequence, all with the intent of trying to steal the entire expo as the best demo. What's that? That's exactly what they did last year with Watch Dogs? Well, that was pretty much what occurred verbatim in this year's attempt of Tom Clancy's The Division. Except it kind of fell flat in my opinion. While the graphics do look great, maybe this underwhelming sense was due to the fact that the rest of Ubisoft's show was repetitive and average. Not to mention that while it was good to see Aisha Tyler back again as host, the writers seemed to do an even worse job than last year on the joke front. Also, Ubisoft, you can't just stick Tom Clancy on anything just because it's a shooter. So again, lightning doesn't strike twice. You know, unless you're Square Enix. So does anyone remember the days where everyone was saying how Nolan North seemed to be in every video game? You know, Nathan Drake from Uncharted, Desmond Miles from Assassin's Creed, and more? Well, ladies and gentlemen, meet Troy Baker. After starring in undeniably the biggest male leads of this year with Booker DeWitt from Bioshock Infinite and Joel from The Last of Us, here are just some of his credits that became readily apparent during this year's E3. Loki in LEGO Marvel Superheroes. Delson Rowe in Infamous Second Son. One of the main characters in Titanfall. The Joker in Batman Arkham Origins. Ocelot in Metal Gear Solid 5 The Phantom Pain. When people say that Troy Baker is the new Nolan North, they aren't joking. The dude is getting paid. I mean, who remembers him first as Kanji Tatsumi from Persona 4? Or even Frank Archer from Full Metal Alchemist? I mean, I really enjoy his work and he really deserves it. But I wish casting directors would have a bit more, I'm not sure what the word is, but flexibility? Especially when there are other very talented actors out there who are looking to make their big break. When I had the great privilege of going to E3 in 2010 and sitting in the 5th row of Nintendo's press conference, it was so very awkward to see the first ever Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword demo have technical difficulties.
Oh.
These are some fast spiders.
But then I couldn't help but notice all of the technical flaws at this year's show. Crimson Dragon could have been a great trailer if it had sound at Microsoft's conference. Then Microsoft's production team flubbed again with no sound on the Battlefield 4 demo, leading to this delicious awkwardness.
I guess you may see it later. We're continuing?
EA couldn't figure out the concept that their mics were still hot.
You feel as if you're not just part of a multiplayer crew of, however many people.
And of course, Assassin's Creed 4, Black Flag's spectacular crash during Sony's show. And let's not forget Nintendo's streaming issues that caused their big reveals to be laggy and unreliable on Ustream. Hey, production companies who run these big shows, figure it out. Also, please don't show demos of games that seem to be this unstable. I mean, it makes for entertaining watches at home, but in the audience, it is so uncomfortable. One of the big questions at E3 would be how Nintendo would present themselves. Well, like I just mentioned, it didn't really get off to a good start. Sure, the Nintendo Direct was on YouTube in HD soon after it aired, but when you skip out on your annual press conference, you had one job and you kinda blew it. Now, here at Show Me Your News, we are incredibly excited for the new Smash Bros. Game.
Yes, 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 yes.
And Nintendo did show a lot of great looking games. They even had one of the biggest booths on the show floor. However, the ups and downs continued with their frequently advertised Nintendo experience at Best Buy. Talk about a poorly executed event. Sure, it was a fantastic idea in theory, and they did bring good games to be demoed in public. However, at my location on Wednesday night, the not as busy night, about 250 people showed up. And there was only one demo station, so you were only able to play 1 out of the 4 games. And those who played Wind Waker HD spent the longest time on a single player game. I mean, I got to play 1 race in Mario Kart 8, which I happened to enjoy and win as Yoshi, but I had to wait in line for all 4 hours of the available demo shift to do so. Nintendo's presented software looked very exciting, but this was an E3 that was just marred with poor planning on a live stream and a public demo front. Alright, before we get to number 1, let's do a quick recap of my top 10 takeaways from E3 2013. Number 10, The Snake Voice Conspiracy. Number 9, Retro's Fabled Game. Number 8, No Sports Footage. Number 7, Car Porn Everywhere. Number 6, Scripted Trash Talk. Number 5, Ubisoft's Repetition. Number 4, Troy Baker is Getting Paid. Number 3, Technical Issues Everywhere. And number 2, Nintendo's Wild Ride. Now it's time for number 1. Let's be clear, the Xbox One is not done. The console war has still just begun. Yes, the $499 price point doesn't help, neither does the out-of-touch hubris that Microsoft seems to possess. But most of all, it's the backwards PR and unbelievably poor messaging that the company keeps exponing themselves over. So when you have a press conference that, sure, shows some exciting games, but fails to address these important concerns, and then you end with a high price point, you leave yourself open to this.
We're equally focused on delivering what gamers want most, without imposing restrictions or devaluing their PS4 purchases. For instance, PlayStation 4 won't impose any new restrictions on the use of PS4 gamers.
This was the definitive moment of E3 2013. Microsoft fanboys will call this a bully move, but this was exactly what had to be done on the corporate battlefield. No excuses. Sony eviscerated Microsoft in this critical moment, and it showed with the legitimate standing ovations they received. As a viewer, it was one of the most unbelievable things I have ever seen on an E3 stage. Can Microsoft recover? Can they make changes before and beyond launch? Well, sure, absolutely. But Sony brought their A game, and at this moment in time, it is clear which company has conveyed their vision for their system the best. At this moment, it is clear which company is more consumer-centric. And at this moment, it is clear which company won E3. If the PlayStation 4 happens to outperform the Xbox One in the long run, this beatdown at E3 will be talked about for years to come. Well, that does it for this SMYN Top 10. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please feel free to leave a comment regarding what you thought about this year's E3. Now, what makes our show unique is that we have different people make lists of their own choosing to submit for posting on this channel. So you can make a video of your own, or you can send a script for me to read and edit, while still giving you all the credit, to smyntop10@gmail.com. Also, please let me know future topics you want to see, and make sure to subscribe and follow us on Facebook and Twitter. With that, I'm Yoko, and we'll see you at the next Top 10.